Hello, City Church family. I wanted to share a few things that the Lord's been doing in my heart, things He's been leading me to look at in my own heart. And honestly, I have to say that it's not I'm not proud to say that I struggle with things, but it's life, and I do. It's part of the transformation process. If we don't face those things that we struggle with, we'll never be able to change and be transformed more into the image of Christ. So one of the things that in today's environment, we all have an opportunity to choose enemies. It seems like whether it's the media or social media or TV, you no matter where you turn, you have a chance and a choice to choose an enemy. And sometimes we choose our enemies. Sometimes our enemies choose us as their enemy for some reason. But in either case, the Lord brought a few scriptures to mind that I'd like to share with you. And Matthew 5:44. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. So I'm sure that we all can think of someone in our past or even in our present who persecutes us for one reason or another. And it's just a matter of choosing not to count them as an enemy. And one of the easiest ways to overcome that is to pray for your enemies, because if you pray for your enemies, the Lord turns your heart for them, not against them. And letting the Lord deal with someone who chooses you as an enemy, let Him deal with them, because He deals with them rightly. I know personally, I honestly, I have fought vain imaginations even against enemies at times, and just this thing rising up in me that I know isn't right and isn't God in me. It's my own sense to be right or just right against the enemy. And so I just encourage you to look at those things when they pop up, where you bristle or you just grit your teeth or clench your fist, and just try by praying for them and continuing to pray for them. And I found that I just pray for God's mercy and blessings on that person, because really, when I'm in that state, I'm not the one to choose the best thing for that person. God is. And also Romans, I just thought this was so cool, because I need to realize who I was before Christ, and that was God's enemy. So in Romans 5:8, but God showed His love for us, and that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Since therefore we have now been justified by His blood, much more shall we be saved by Him from the wrath of God. For if while we were enemies, we were reconciled to God by the death of His Son, much more now that we are reconciled, shall we be saved by His life. So honestly, I don't want to picture myself as an enemy of God, but when I choose to sin, when I walk in that sin, we have reconciliation through Christ. But when I was a non-believer, when we before Christ, we are God's enemy, and that's an eye-opener. And what was His response? His response was to reconcile us to Him and to save us through Christ. So I just encourage you to pray for your enemies, pray for mercy and peace on them, and God's blessing. and God bless you.